My responsibility is more, maybe.
Yeah, we can make it
This is the
pretty.
coldest time. And I'm further, usually the further north you go, the colder it is. Then I guess, what, trees? I don't know, it's cold. That's what I'm talking about. But I really appreciate y'all. Yeah, it sells it. Like, people were worried because it was raining. And I'm like, well, if it's raining hard, then nobody's going to participate. But a good cold and wet night, wow, ain't no way to not think of homelessness differently after you participate. And so, this is a really deep experience. Other people can feel it. Like, walking across the country was a really deep experience. I just suggest everybody try it. But I understand the impracticality around it. I know it takes a little while. It takes a big chunk of time.
Across Houston is walking out of Texas.
Yeah, but this is a big thing to do. Especially if it's outside of your comfort zone. If you're just a naturalist, G.I. Joe type, I live in the woods on the weekend type of person, it's nothing to you. But if this is new, this is a really deep experience, and it's a beautiful experience. Because it opens us up, it opens our perspective and our understanding of what's going on around us. So I really hope that you all get a lot from this and share it with other people. And that's what the tweet put it up on Facebook, the pictures of and everything. We are that example, I believe. Appreciate y'all time. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And what time is
it? 15 minutes. Oh, wait.
12. I got time for a couple questions about the walk. Anybody have any questions? She raised her hand, man. I slept in a van. Like, I had 2 sport vehicles. One from Houston to Dallas, and one from Dallas to Los Angeles, and pretty much slept in a sport van. Right now, we're at the 5th stop, Andreas Hope, 5212 Brixton. We'll jump into the program. They have a late program. We can get it going now. It's getting kind of cold out here. Cold enough to really drive the plane in.
Brother Noah has joined us.
Noah.
Hello. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you? You look tired.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
This is stop number 5.
Woo, that means we're doing good tonight, huh?
Doing good.
Hey, babe. Everybody, this is Noah Rattler.
It's my daughter.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it. My name's Noah Rattler. Noah like the art, Rattler like the snake. 2007, I walked to Los Angeles from Houston to raise awareness for homelessness. The journey was 1,800 miles, and it lasted just about 4.5 months. There's a roundabout way that I got to home. Ultimately, my goal when I left high school, went to Prairie View, was to save the world. I'm gonna save the world, and I didn't care how big it was. I didn't care how complicated the problem was. I had no idea how complicated the problem was. I had that end goal in sight. And so, went to school, studied engineering and physics, graduated both of them, came out. Right at that time, I was much smarter than I was when I went in. I had lived a little bit, learned a little bit about responsibility for self, paid rent, bills, and all this stuff. And so I had a different perspective on things. I had finished school, and I came to this point in time where throughout school, I was always volunteering on some organization or something like that. When I was done, all there was work and home. Go to work, come home, go to sleep. And there was this great need. It's like I have this hunger for helping, and I couldn't satisfy that. So I was trying to figure out a good way to do that. At the same time, I'm smarter now. I know how to do research and stuff, so I'm trying to figure out what one thing, if I fixed it, would have the greatest, would do the most work towards saving the world. And eventually, I kind of settled on mental illness. Mental illness was that one thing. I recognized that through talking to my father and just kind of observations, listening and reading about stuff through history. It's like a case in point. There are people who've done PhDs, and there are libraries full of dissertations and years of research on why Rome failed. You ask a geologist, you'll say because they mismanaged their water. That's the single reason. You ask a toxicologist, they'll say because all their cups were had lead in them. And you ask why were the emperors so crazy? Why did Nero burn his house down? It was because he was insane from lead poisoning. Lead poisoning had an effect on society since we started doing stuff with iron, with metals. Until just recently, it's still having a huge effect in our community, all over the country, all over the world. The effects of lead poisoning or mental instability. Tendency towards violence that you have, and your brain doesn't work as it would if it did not have that ailment in it. And so I learned and come across a couple of facts like that. Mental illness sounds like a really good big thing. If we could really jump on mental illness, that may actually cure. That may actually be it. That may be the thing. And so I figured, how would this happen? Like, what does mental illness look like in our society? Picked up a couple of books at the bookstore, and one was like, I think the name of the book was The History of Mental Illness in Western Civilization. And it went back from like the 800-900s in Western Europe, when it started to come up and the torches passed from Rome and the Holy Roman Empire to Western Europe, and the royals start to show up in France and England and stuff like that. What happened with mentally ill people? They either were historically locked up in prison or wound up homeless. Same thing today. And so, in a way, I wanted to find out more about it. I wanted to get out there and see what it really looked like in the real world. And the opportunity came up to where it's easier for me to go and volunteer with search homeless services than it was to go to prison or anything like that. So I wound up volunteering with search. What I started to understand, the reality behind the humanity of people who live on the street. And I started to see the mental separations that I had built up and preconceptions that I had built up over time. It disappeared. And it was like, wow. I mean, like, that lady over there on the bench talking to herself, that's me. That's really me. Had I gone through what she went through, I might be over there. Had she gone through what I went through, she may be sitting over here looking at me at this time in my life. And so all of that started to really come crystal clear how human all of us are. Not just us out here doing this for the moment, but the people who live through this every day. And so I was kind of not necessarily shocked, but I was kind of shocked at the fact, because I always been told I was a smart kid. No, you're a genius. You're so smart. I think I credit my parents. They taught me to read before I went to school. And it was just like, I just kind of coasted through the rest of school because I was just a little bit ahead. And so, it kind of got to me. My head got a little, my head is big. I got a big head. Like when I graduated from high school, I was this tall, but I weigh like 140 pounds. Like 200 right now. So my head was beautiful. But like, figuratively, it was kind of big as well. People tell me I'm smart all the time. And so, I was like, you know what? I didn't know anything about none of this. And I'm smart. I'm the guy that everybody says is smart, whoever, yada, yada. And so I started talking to my friends about it, and a lot of them didn't know much about it unless they were homeless at one point in time. Two things I discovered: a lot of people who haven't been homeless don't know nothing about it, and more people have been homeless than we think. It's almost like 1 in every 4 people I talk to have been homeless now. Come to find out, technically I've been homeless before. That's been almost a year, maybe a year and a half on somebody's couch. And if you sleep on somebody's couch, you're grown. And you're able to pay bills, then you're home. And I've done that. I did that prayer review, and that's like I did that. And so that's what homelessness became to me. And there was an opportunity there. I saw the need, the gap, this hole in our understanding of ourselves as a collective. And I kind of adopted this mentality. How you doing? I kind of adopted this mentality over time. The idea was, we all sitting here, huddling around the fire, and we having this conversation. Even though I'm the only one talking, there's a two-way dialogue going through. I feel your attention, and we're talking, we communicate with each other. One of these embers falls off, and it sparks a fire back here. Now, if we're in this conversation, and you're the only person who see the fire, and you don't say anything about it, in my heart, you're responsible for whatever happened with that fire. Because you could have done something to intervene, but you chose not to for whatever reason.
It's called Bell Out. And excuse me singing, but it's not meant to be good. Okay. I'm locked up, won't let me out. They won't let me out. They won't let me out. It is now day 4. And I knew at this point someone would be missing me. See, I knew that they would come, embrace me with tears, and whisper that they missed me. And by week 2, I just knew that she had turned every block from my house to the outskirts of this city inside out. And every soul that would walk past her, she would grab and she would plead, "Where is my baby?" And I swear I heard her voice, "Mama's gonna find you." But fatigue began to eat at my mental sea. Hunger starved my soul of emotions, and my skin, it began to reek with self-pity. See, that day stuck in repeat. I keep seeing my brothers and sisters' faces. They ripped them apart from me. Ripped them apart from me, and you expect me to wake every morning caring about this shit called life, when all I want to know is who will care for me. See, your system designed to bail us out, when in reality, you've imprisoned all of my potentials and chose this fucked up life for me. See, I born into expectations to be productive in my being, produce usefulness into this useless system that clearly doesn't give a shit for me. My tear ducts are burning from the fire released down my face. I bleed self-hatred, resentment, uselessness into my esteem. I bleed self-hatred, cutting day in, day out into my skin, just hoping that someone, just anyone would feel me, because I have no reason to breathe, no reason to live, no reason to care, because like you didn't care, and all I want to know is who will care for me. Who will care for me? See, you too busy affording bailouts on broke down financial systems, recycling our dollars, and bailouts on auto companies just to keep the economy pumping. But what about the child slave? What about that young boy left to raise the other 8 and that innocent child forced to have her emotional walls penetrated day in and day out by the man that she must call uncle? And what about that teenage